UiPath Agentic Automation Summit. Media partner CNBC-TV18.
Now, many of us in this room have witnessed and lived through multiple waves of technological change. The rise of agentic AI and agentic automation is very different. It's not just a next new chapter. It is an entirely new playbook. A new playbook that will redefine how businesses operate, how employees work and collaborate, and how innovations scale across every single industry. Now, this evening, we're going to have a conversation with four visionary leaders. And they're going to share, we're going to have a no holds barred conversation on this agentic automation. What does agentic automation really mean to you? Let's start with Vijayash.
Very good evening, all. If I have to define agentic AI, I would say it is more towards an autonomous world. SaaS is actually getting a different terminology or a definition. Earlier, we used to call SaaS as a software as a service. Now it is moving towards service as a software. So agentic AI becomes the foundation of this new definition for the SaaS. So it's all autonomous world. That is how I see the definition of agentic AI.
Great. Prasanna, what do you think?
I'll give you a different, fun explanation from my end, right? I don't know if you've seen Iron Man. It's like my digital Jarvis. So it's like a digital agent that's going to do everything for me. It's going to be my minion, and that's how I see it.
Iron Man. Great. Naren.
For me, agents represent brain. I mean, the cognitive work that humans traditionally do, which missions for the last 40, 50 years could not have been, were not able to do, is what agents represent. So the compute unit, which does the equivalent of a brain work, the deep cognitive work, is agents for me.
Cool. Sebastian?
I mean, for me, the main word here, or the main sentence is, with agentic automation, we can automate more. All your businesses are driven by efficiency. All your businesses are driven by, hey, we want to get the last bit out of our business processes, run fast, efficient, and actually do more with technology. And for me, agentic automation is a significant next step when it comes to the vision that we all have to the perfectly automated and efficient organization.
Okay, now that we got it out of the way, let's dive right in. Now, from RPA to agentic automation, what made this moment fundamentally different? And how is it changing the way all of you leaders are approaching business transformation? Banking, Prasanna.
For us, let me just take a step back and explain to you about the transformation that's happened in the banking world, right? Way back in 2017, 2016, at least as far as Federal Bank goes, we were one of the pioneers in terms of adoption of RPA. Then, we come fast forward to 2023. We came into Gen AI. Nobody knew what was in store. Then now, if you look at Gen AI adoption across the world, every nook and cranny, every small bank, a player, an organization is keen on implementing it. I think we are just at the step where we kind of leapfrog and get into agentic AI. I think, from an Indian banking space, at least we are a little bit far away from there, but realistically. But I'm super excited. This is the next level of automation that we've always dreamt of as engineering leaders, right?
Vijayarashi, what about you? What are you seeing in the complex world of healthcare, which is very human-centric today?
Yes. See, we are not seeing agentic AI as a change from the RPA, or it is not replacing RPA. I would say it is a journey, and it is evolving. In that continuous journey, there is a paradigm shift which has happened in the AI era in the form of agentic AI. So it actually helps us to automate more complex process, redefine or reimagine the overall process. So, in my opinion, it has not changed anything. It has evolved. Probably one change, what I'm seeing is if you see any tech profile in the LinkedIn, probably you are forced to put an AI as your initial. You may have to add AI as your first name or a last name. That's the only change which I'm seeing now. But from the technology point of view, I'm actually enjoying this kind of paradigm shift that is happening in the industry.
Naren, right? In the world of BPO that Viram playing, and you guys specialize in lots of hyper automation services for your global clients, right? What's your perspective on this?
So I'm going to differ a little bit from what Vijay said, if I may. I look at this as quite disruptive. I look at it as a new unlock for white spaces. Let me give you an example. A couple of days back, I had a WhatsApp forward. This guy who was new to Bangalore was negotiating with an auto driver. I don't know how many of you saw that. So this guy was actually assigning a negotiation role to ChatGPT. It said, look, this guy is charging me 200 rupees. And I know it's like 100 rupees. Can you please negotiate? But he's not doing translation. Mind you, the agent here is actually taking the instructions, delivering a goal. It was actually negotiating with, translating and negotiating. So we are moving from task automation to process automation towards goal automation. I think that's a fundamental shift which can unlock a lot of white spaces for us. Imagine taking this in a conversation in a bank or an insurance company, and you can have fundamentally new customer experiences the way you look at it. So I think it's quite revolutionary the way I see it, Colin. Yeah.
Thank you, Naren. From a UiPath perspective, right, we created this whole category of RPA, and now Act 2, Agentic Automation. Sebastian, why is this so important and different?
Yes, I'm super excited that after being the category definer for RPA, we are now also defining what agentic automation means. A little bit to what we have heard before, everything is true. I want to make one thing clear. Please do not try to replace every problem that you can easily solve with RPA, with agentic. It doesn't make any sense. That has no benefit. But agents can do significantly more, and agents are goal-oriented. You can give them a goal. They can flexibly to react to input they are getting. They can consume vast amounts of information and can make sense out of it. Something that nothing before we had could ever do in the world of automation. And this is also our commitment to you, our customers. By making traditional automation even better, we are introducing something new that totally increases the reach of automation, and this is agentic automation.
All right. Now, let's talk reality. Where are each one of you seeing agentic automation lighting up on your radar? Where are the gold rush use cases? Now, which of these use cases in your organizations are gaining real momentum? Let's start with Vijayashri.
We have a lot, meaning being in the healthcare industry, we have very human intense complex process where the human intelligence is required in completing any of your healthcare process. For example, in the case of an AR process, this is like a back office process where I would say the agents, earlier we used to have like an AR, SME AR agent, payment poster, charge entry, SME, medical coder. All these human personas are getting replaced with AI agents. So instead of calling a human agent as an AR agent, we will call it as an AR AI agent. So there are decision-making steps that are required in completing a process. So that is where we are actually kind of plugging in the AR agents, and any SMEs in the healthcare industry, you can assume it and be replaced with an AR or an AI agent. And I agree with this point of like we should not try replacing any RPA pure play action bot just for the sake of bringing in an AI. It actually replaces the human intelligence part, which is required to complete your complex process. That is where the AI agent. So we have lots of use cases. We are already doing lots of AI agent specific pilots joining with UiPath.
Great. Prasanna, banking, what are the use cases that you are seeing?
I would first look at small wins, something on the employee engagement side, on the HR side, Post that, some of the real complex use cases, today we are talking about, fraud detection, money mule, which is a raging topic with the regulators now, AML, compliance, customer profiling, risk profiling. These are all some of the areas that I would really, see agentic flourish in the future.
Naren, from a BPO perspective again, I know
Sure.
you guys have done some amazing pilots already. Can you share with us some of the compelling use cases?
Sure. There are a few industries where we are seeing agents, in fact, being asked for. Customers come to us and say, how can you introduce agents into our existing ecosystem? And I can take the example of an insurance where we are actually looking at claims processing and looking at how can we actually accelerate the whole claims management system. Everything from looking at documents, the claims documents, and matching it with the with the insureds, data, and making a first level of recommendation, and then going to the claims adjudicator to say whether the claim should be approved or not, or things like that. Another example is in the procurement, in supplier onboarding. The onboarding process is again very, very cumbersome. You have to look at documents, you have to look at contracts. Those are beautiful use cases for agents because again they are deep and they are very cognitive. Now, one of the things, now there are quite a few business use cases where we are seeing it, but very interestingly, we actually see it in the IT landscape. In an SDLC, recently we came across a migration use case where the customer has hundreds of processes in legacy system, wants to migrate and modernize into a new platform, and they don't have requirements. And we have to derive requirements using agents, and we found agents were very good at understanding existing SOP documents, existing test case document, old BRDs, and being able to reverse engineer it and help us fast track the whole SDLC cycle. So it's like it's appearing itself in a number of very different use cases. And yeah, I think we are going to see more and more of the agent proliferation in almost every sphere of what we do.
UiPath Agentic Automation Summit. Media partner CNBC-TV18. UiPath Agentic Automation Summit. Media partner CNBC-TV18.
Now, we all know technology moves at lightning speed, but culture moves at human speed. So shifting gear a little bit, let's talk about people, right? And the profound thing about agentic automation is actually very humanly centered, right? Let's hear from healthcare, from Vijayashri, from an Omega perspective. How are you guys preparing your people, teams, your leadership to embrace a new world of agents who is acting and thinking on your behalf autonomously?
See, obviously, it involves good amount of heavy lifting on the change management. But for an organization where they have already seen digital workers, AI journey, bringing in an agentic AI could be an additional aspect to it, because they would have already seen the impact of your RPAs. The way we see RPA is your backbone of your automation, and AI agents becomes your brain and brings in the intelligence. So good amount of change management has been taken care already. Then it would be relatively an easy journey to get into the agentic AI. But if you are starting from the scratch, starting from your RPA journey, then it would be a long road. But if you're already in the automation journey, bringing in your AI and replacing the intelligence with your AI agents, I would say it is relatively easy if you have a underlying guiding principle of change management for the organization structure.
Thank you. Prasanna, how about the banking side?
Is there an option to skip and pass this question? On the serious side, though, right? I come from an organization which is super tech savvy, right? Contrary to popular belief, large legacy bank, still taking its time to sort of reinvent itself on the technology front. Our business leaders are very, very tech savvy. I've had many tech leaders, many business leaders come up to me and already start talking to me about, agentic AI and how can we, use it in my business? Can I save here? Can I save there? I see the culture already there. It's just that the framework around deploying such a technology is where we are still trying to figure it out. So our compliance with the regulators, you're a highly regulated entity. How do we, stay on top of those regulations? And I think RBI will come out with an AI policy soon. and we are hoping that agents are also covered in that policy. That'll make our lives a bit easier. But yes, having said that, I think culture is the biggest, the question mark. It is going to take some time. Like what Vijayashree said, people are already working with digital agents. They're already seeing the benefit on the ground. With UiPath alone, right? We've automated 350 odd processes and 2.5x, kind of ROI. So which is huge. Which business would like to, pass it up? Right, so there is going to be definitely opportunities. People are going to put their hand up. The business leaders are going to put their hand up. It's just a question of when more than why.
Naren, your perspective on the people pillar?
Yeah, culture is relatively easy to talk about, but on the ground, it's going to be really hard to get it. So I wouldn't say we have reached there, but we operate with two broad guiding principles. So one of the first things we say is co-pilot and not competition. There's a tendency, especially in the developer community, to worry about what is AI going to do? Agents are writing code. Am I going to be disrupted? So here we say, the train has arrived at the station, so you need to embark on it. You are going to be left out. So think of how AI can be a co-pilot, and the notion that future development will consist of a domain expert, a technology expert, and you will have to bring AI into the mix in order for you to move forward. So the principle and what we advocate is look at it as a co-pilot strategy. That's number one. Now, on the ground, the second principle we actually say is don't just focus on automation, but focus on agency. What do I mean by that is give the whole team a certain degree of power for them to experiment, reach a goal, fail into the, introduce failures in the whole mechanism, accept it, embrace it, create a feedback loop so that agents can learn, humans can learn, and it's actually going to be an experimentation stage for the next few months. I think that's very important for us to not approach with a finite stick and say, this is how it should work. There's a whole organizational learning that needs to come in here. And that is the second change, I would say, is very key for us as we move forward in this new space. It's fairly new. We don't have the rules written yet. And I think we need to be very, very cautious as we approach it. And that's what I would say are the two guiding principles for us.
Now, on the topics of people again, but now specifically on developers, right? With low code, no code, and autopilots popping up everywhere, it seems like our developers don't even need to write code anymore, right? What do you think the role of developers and software architects will look like in the agentic era? Sebastian.
I mean, my neighbor sitting right next to me has already a little bit outlined the co-pilot idea for developers. So, one or two, maybe three trends that come up that will affect the world of developers. Trend one is about learning. If you just look 8, 9 years back, if I want to learn a new technology, I go to 3, 4 months on a training, I do some tests at the end, I get a certification. The technology world is changing that fast that, the trend is more towards in-app learning and towards micro-learnings, info bytes, and so on. And with AI assistance, also learning becomes very simple because I don't need a course before I start using a tool. I can just start because I can ask the AI assistants, how do I do X, how do I do Y? So this is a significant change also in how we enable developers. It's also a question I get very often asked from you, from customers, like, how do I train my developer workforce? Get them started. A good AI assistant, also our autopilot, we have grounded our autopilot on all our help documents and all our learning material. So you can ask it the question, how do I do X, how do I do Y? It answers very nicely. And then, of course, those AI assistants can also code and generate artifacts. There's a new cool term out there called vibe coding, which also now allows developers, by giving instructions in a natural language, to actually generate the artifacts that they want to generate. This is a tremendous increase of efficiency that we see here. But now comes the but. A developer still needs to translate a business requirement into some sort of a logical structure, into a prompt. So the creative effect of what a developer does not go away. It's just like, I don't write Java, now I'll write a prompt. So this is not to be underestimated, the creative element of actually translating a business requirement into software. This does not go away. To the role of low code, no code, if now AI assistants generate code, still the developer needs to have a representation of what was generated to understand. We believe like, even if AI assistants generate code, a visual representation of what was generated is highly useful for the developer to understand, okay, I'm chatting maybe with my co-pilot or with my AI assistant, but I see on this next panel what is actually generated, so I can understand what was done. So we actually see a boost of low-code, no-code, and also code-first tools by actually AI assistants, because efficiency is increased, but the demand doesn't go away.
Any other additional perspective?
I'll come in here as well. I have two perspectives, right? I come from a core engineering background. So with agentic AI, one of the features of agentic is to interface with multiple systems, right? I think you need a solid engineering team to visualize that integration. And secondly, from a core development perspective, I was talking to Sebastian earlier about this as well. It would help me it would help me set standards in terms of coding, in terms of practices, in terms of adherence to policies. If I were to create an API, for example, these are the way you need to go about it, and agentic could come in and correct what has been done by a developer. So this is an exciting, sort of an opportunity as well. So these are kind of two parallels, but I think engineering will come back into limelight again. And it's not just about low code, no code, and have fun conversations on chat and get the code. But there's going to be some serious integrations we are talking about, right? And you need to have the knowledge to support that kind of integration.
Yeah, I would like to add to his point. I completely agree with him. We are seeing this as an opportunity for the developers to do beyond development. In fact, it gives an elevated position for them to do like an architect, right? So you need to think through the solution design. You need to think through the design patterns. And as he rightly said, engineering is coming alive. Many of the software developers, many of us would have been from the engineering background. When we were developing code, we would have thought that we studied something and we are actually doing something else. But now the actual development is getting generated, but you can actually develop your architecture skills, solution design, your object-oriented design, the way you connect, the way you reimagine the process. And it also gives opportunity for the developers to pick up the domain knowledge. That is very important, because when you are actually playing around because for the prompts, if you ask a stupid question, it will give you a stupid answer. So you need to be smart enough to ask the right question with the prompts. So it is not as easy as we speak. Like prompts is not like just like doing a Google search, right? So it involves good amount of design thinking and solution thinking. That's the crux which the developers I would insist that they should start focusing on.
Thank you.
UiPath Agentic Automation Summit. Media partner CNBC-TV18.